Hi, welcome to Startup Out of the Box, a weekly podcast about startups with Silva and Vitor Domingos.
On this episode, we're going to discuss three main themes. The first one is about raising money. The second one is about engineering principles that work actually for Monzo. And the last one is about communication strategies for startups. Do we actually need them or we don't? So, starting...
Just wing it.
Exactly. So let's just start with the first topics, which is raising money.
Yep.
If it has any kind of benefits, first of all, for startups, and secondly, what kind of benefits, are they obvious or not? And also, if actually raising money gives the startup any kind of validation about its purpose or business plan or strategy. So, raising money.
So two ways. You can bootstrap it. That for me was kind of like the normal way to do it. And then you have raising money from VCs or friends and fools and family.
Yeah.
But that's usually the bootstrap part. So there's this tendency that you need to raise money whatever you're building. So bootstrap is not a viable option for some people and they have to raise money. And because for them it's a kind of a validation of the idea. While in reality it's not. It's just most of the times it's the VCs. They kind of like your idea, they like your team. Sure, let's give it a try. But it doesn't mean that there is a real need for that product or that idea in the market. It's more of, let's wing it and see what this works. So that's one mistake that founders have when they raise money. They believe that that's a validation of their idea.
Yeah. Well, it can be sometimes, because if you actually need a lot of money to put the product in the street, actually you need to raise that money, right? As you said, it can have some options. The 3Fs, that's the first kind of option, and then obviously the bootstrap. The bootstrap is the most economical way of actually building your company, because what you're going to spend is actually what you're going to earn. That's pretty much it. If you're going to go with VCs, then you need to give some equity to the people that actually are investing in you. And that's where probably the problem starts, right? Because
problem number one, you have someone else calling the shots. Well, not calling the shots, but giving their opinion and kind of forcing you to follow their opinion, because they give money to you. So
it makes sense, right? So if you just give some money to someone, then you need to actually either be consulted or your opinion is heard and actually it's taken into consideration.
So that's one of the issues where if you get VC money, you have to be sure that you're aligned, that the VC is aligned with your ideas of the future of the company, because that's also one of the problems with VCs and raising money is after you raise money, you realize that the VCs want to push the company in one direction because they want to get their investment back quite fast, and it's opposite on what you as a founder thought about your company.
It is.
So that's one of the risks of raising money is you're going to focus on the not profitability, but growing the company the fastest possible. And that might not be the best profitable option for the company.
Exactly.
You have a lot of examples from fintech companies like new banks or even Snapchat in the beginning, or Facebook, that for years they didn't make any profit from the users. Only when they started to focus on the product, focus on revenue, that's when the scale started to shift. So, and of course that might be too late if you don't realize it. Yeah,
but the thing is, there's not a lot of companies that actually can be like Twitter. As you remember, Twitter, it went, I don't know, for 6 years without making any money, just from raising capital and actually this kind of investment. So they didn't have any kind of product. They weren't getting any money from the users or their network, and they had to actually pay salaries and stuff like that. But the other thing with raising money is that it gives you some kind of false hope when it comes to validation. I remember, I think it was the guys from 37 Signals that sold a share for 1 cent or a hundredth of a cent, something like that.
Yeah, one share for $1, so it made the company valuation in $1 billion.
Like a unicorn, right? So, when you actually sell shares of the company, then the VC start making this kind of validation, right? So if I'm just going to buy the company for half of the company for $1 million, then the company in full, it's about $2 million. So, bottom line, it gives this kind of false sense or false hope of validation when it comes to investment, and also of the money that actually the company is worth for. That's usually one of the problems. The other one is the hyper growth, right? So because if you injecting money in your company, it is expected for you to grow.
Yeah.
For you to get another scale and actually double or triple the size of the company and go to markets fast. That's usually not the way to do it, because you're going to have a lot of money, but it doesn't make... Sometimes it is complicated for you to actually build the company with all the money that you can get from investment and put the money in the right place, or get the right people to work with your company. Actually, we've talked about that in previous episodes. So it's
and you have the example from Snapchat. They raised millions and hundreds of millions. They grew like crazy, and they have a massive team now, contributing, but it's in the thousands, and they're failing again and again and again. Because that's it. There was no focus. It was okay. We have the money. Let's build teams. Let's build, and it was like, do we really need to build this? Is this really what the company is? Okay, it gives you opportunity to try stuff, but it doesn't... You're not focused on what you should be doing.
Exactly.
And just trying out stuff because, well, I have money, so let me give it a try.
Yeah, but if you look at all the startups that are just appearing here, not just in the UK, but also all around European countries and also in America, you can see that the easiest way at the moment is actually raising money from VC, right? Yeah. So selling part of your company for something for you to then build a company.
Yeah, it's much easier to do than bootstrap.
Well, it is, and even with bootstrap, we've discussed this previously. There are a lot of ways of doing this kind of investment, but let's just focus on this one, on raising money. With raising money comes as we just said, a lot of problems, but a few benefits, right? I think that the most obvious one is that you're going to have money to build the stuff that you actually want to do. That's really cool. Bear in mind that at the end you need to give to the VCs kind of some explanation and some knowledge of the things that you're doing, and probably at the end they're gonna also present you some options when they just exit the company, right? Do they want to sell? Do you want to buy back the shares that you just sold them, or it's going into a different thing? So there's a lot of options, and startups need to take care in consideration about all of these options. For
example, Buffer, in the last 2-3 weeks, they bought back all the shares from the VCs. So now they are a fully private company with no VCs because they bought the shares back.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's also an option. Yeah.
I'm still fond of I'm going to sell one share of my company for $1. So $100, it's going to be amazing. Right. So the second topic, it's about engineering principles that work for Monzo.
Yeah. So Monzo is a fintech company, startup. It's a bank.
There is a new name for that. It's called the Challenger Bank. It's a challenger bank. It's not a traditional one. It's someone that's challenging the market. Well, never mind. Carry on.
Are they challenging the market?
Monzo, I don't know. The other one that we use, Revolut. That one is really good.
Well, not really bank.
Well, it's a bank.
It's financial services. Starling looks quite promising.
They do.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, so engineering principles.
Exactly.
So they released a blog post about their engineering principles, and they're quite good. So it's simple stuff that most startups should follow. But there's this mentality.
They fail to do that.
Because they think it's simple. There's something wrong about doing simple stuff. That we have to show that how big we are, how complex we are. We're not a simple thing. No, we have to change and add and build and then no one knows what the hell is happening inside there. So, and they'll give you like 12 points that follow kind of like the principles from Agile, from Lean, but also simple principles that we learn kind of from university, but also from practice on working with other people. So principles like ship it and iterate it. So iterate continuously, ship continuously, don't wait for 1 year to release something. Make small changes, do them often, don't wait the deployment of a massive bundle of everything together, like 10 features together. No, one at a time. Just commit, change copy, commit, deploy that stuff, see what impact those changes have. Technical debt is a useful tool. You have to realize that technical debt is going to happen. You won't be able to fight against it.
I'm going to argue against this one. I don't think it's actually a useful tool. It needs to be dealt with. Actually, you need to understand what kind of stuff are you leaving behind and how can you transform that in the future. I don't think that if you're gonna iterate and you're going to ship things faster, technical debt is just going to slow you down. But that's kind of my point.
That's how you deal with technical debt. If you don't deal with it, then you're going to be screwed. But you have to realize it's there. You have to deal with it, but you also accept that you can create some technical debt and realize in the future you have to fix it. Solve problems at the root. Most people just try to think, okay, I'm going to put this hack in place and then another hack in place and another hack in place. That's not really technical debt. That's really, you're going to screw yourself.
Exactly. You're going to screw the whole thing.
Do not accept deviant system behavior. What do you have to say about that?
Right.
Actually, I don't know what I meant about this point. I can't remember.
Well, I faced this previously. The problem with this kind of thing is that there is someone within your team that keeps pushing things in the wrong direction. I remember working for a Swiss company that the developers were just keen on using different tools from the ones that were previously approved. So they were just bringing new tools into the table and just getting into this kind of
shadow IT,
deviant system behavior.
And then we come to the next two ones. That's write code to be read and write code to be debugged.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, because most developers think they need to be smart and show how smart they are.
Yeah.
Instead of doing, some code duplication can be accepted. Some variable names might be in a weird position. Of course, each language has those really magical tools that you can use. But if only you can read that code and no one else in your team can look at that code and understand just by looking at it what it does and why it's doing that, you have a big problem.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I prefer something that's simple, that's readable, that's understandable, than magical or fancy
unicorns happen. Yeah.
I remember a year or 2 years ago, there was a developer that showed us a piece of code that he wanted to show how smart he was. So he developed kind of an entire new system of key value. And I was like,
reinventing
why didn't you just use a key value tool that already exists in the market? Because I just wanted to show what I can do.
See, deviant system behavior.
Yeah, hours later, that's like you could have focused on the important stuff of the system instead of developing a tool that already exists.
Exactly.
If it can't show it, if it doesn't show as a bottleneck, don't optimize it. Oh, and this happens to so many startups out there.
Well, it happens in two different folds. The first one is they try to optimize everything, and then they try to cloudify everything, right? So everything goes to the cloud, everything goes optimized, and actually they never ship things, and it gets complicated because
you have that example.
You're fine-tuning a thing that actually doesn't have a bottleneck.
Yeah. So, for example, you might be using Apache Storm to process your message queues, and that already does like thousands of messages per second capability. And then there's a new tool called Apache Flint. I believe it's Flint. But in their README and all of those descriptions and benchmarks to show, look, it's much faster than Storm. So you see many people just moving to Flint because, it's so much faster than Storm. But if Storm is not even your bottleneck, why the hell are you spending time moving to another tool if that is working for you? So don't fix things that are not your problem. If you can see it might be a problem in the near future, not in like 2 years, leave it as it is. Yeah. Put it in your pipeline. You'll fix it once it's a problem. Yeah. Once it goes through the thresholds that you believe are like a trigger. Until then, if it works, don't touch it.
Exactly. There's the next two, right? So unlock others whenever you can. So try to create shortcuts if you can to the
help
things.
Your team, basically.
Exactly. And the last one is leave the code base better than you found it. I think that's kind of obvious, right? So don't mess with the code.
Don't break it. Basically, if you commit code, make sure it's working when you commit it.
Exactly.
That's why you have CD and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Don't break the code.
Exactly. So that was the kind of 12 engineering principles that work for Monzo. Let us know what kind of engineering principles work for you. Put on the comments. Maybe you can give us, you can actually give us some kind of idea to talk about on the next episodes. What kind of engineering principles do you actually use? And the last topic is do startups actually need a communication strategy? So my short answer is yes, they do.
I'll go yes.
Despite the article, what says the article? The article says they don't need a communication strategy. So the article that we're just going to share. Actually, I think that they do. They need to think about the audience that they're going to reach, how they're going to reach this. And also the communication strategy is not just how do you reach your users, but actually how do you reach either investors or how do you pitch the company and how you tell the story to your employees, right? So it's the kind of the principles that you're going to teach the people that work for you when they talk to friends about the company they work for, right? So what do you want to be known for and heard for? And that's the kind of the communication that you need to put out there. Obviously, there are tricks and there are stuff that that you can do, but usually I don't think that most of the startups, they don't need to go to a proper communication agency to build this kind of stuff. They can do most of it in-house if they have the kind of brains.
It's a matter of using your brain.
Exactly.
Think about what you're saying. Think about if it makes sense in the perspective of a company. You don't want to come into a PR nightmare, for example, like Tesla and Elon Musk.
Yeah.
When Elon Musk says stuff and Tesla then has to back it up. Yeah. So pay attention to what he's saying. Think about it. Use your common knowledge and have patience.
Yeah, and also one of the things is that if you have a technology company, a technology startup, if you want to pitch to journalists or to media, you need to take care because it's not on the other side. It's not just a journalist that doesn't understand about technology. Actually, they care, but they don't care enough about the backend that you're actually using. If it's Python, if it's PHP, they don't care about that.
The users don't care.
Actually, when you do this kind of communication and when you pitch to journalists, what you need to know is, if I were a journalist, how would I pitch this to put in a newspaper or to put it in an article? So I would say that half of the work is actually you as a company, as a startup, doing this kind of report to the journalist, and then they just have either copy paste or just put some comments. That's usually the best strategy to do this. Obviously, there are, as I said, some workarounds with social media and the people that work for you to put the message there. If I had to build a new communication strategy for a startup, I would think first on the social media channels. How do I want my message to go through? But also, how would my employees talk about the company or talk about the work that they're just doing? Yeah,
you're not going to get it right at the first try. You're going to iterate over this until you finally tune the message that you want to come out. Even for us, it took some time until we got the right elevator pitch of what do we do and who we are. So it took some iterations. Some companies at the beginning would just look at us, didn't understand it. Yeah. 3-4 months later, we'd go back to them, the pitch more clean, more fluid, and they would, okay, now we get what you guys are doing, now it makes more sense. So it takes time, even if you're starting from ground, but be patient. Yeah. Be patient, and, talk to your friends, see what they think about it, but also bring your team together. Because it's important, because everyone in the company might give some input on what you're doing.
Well, ask your employees, ask the people in the company, if they have to explain the company to their grandmother or grandfather or niece or whatever, 6-year-old niece, about what they do, and ask them, right? Maybe you can have different answers, and then you have can you get a proper pitch after that? And
you might be surprised, if your company is less than 1 year old, you might be surprised the amount of different interpretations of what the company does that you will receive.
Exactly.
You will be surprised about that.
Everyone has their own what we used just back then, the deviant system behavior.
Everyone has their own perspective of what the company does.
Exactly. That's it. That's it for the episode 12, as I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
It's a slow pace. I can't even talk. I need more coffee.
It is. So
that's a slow ride.
Let's continue the conversation next week, right? All right. Cheers. Bye.
Cheers.